Tashidelek and welcome to Tibet This Week, where we bring you weekly news edition on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Central Tibetan Administration. Let's have a look at today's headlines. His Holiness the Dalai Lama to participate in long live prayer ceremony organized by Taiwanese group. His Holiness the Dalai Lama meets Kangra district officials and praises about Indian government hospitality. European Union reiterates concern about the continuous dire situation in Tibet and calls for the preservation of Tibetan identity. Sikyong Tsering begins his second leg of official visits to Tibetan settlements in Uttarakhand and Sirmaur. Sikyong Tsering highlights Tibet's political situation during meeting with Friedrich Naumann Foundation delegation. Conference on promotion of Buddhism featuring monks of Tibetan, Theravada and Han traditions held in Taipei. Artists from Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts attend the 9th edition of Zanskar Festival. ITCO AJ Mass Communication and Research Center Media Student Program concludes with insightful documentaries on Tibetan exile life. Starting next Monday, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will begin a short teaching on Tsongkha Pass, the three principal aspects of the path, Lamson Namsum, at the request of devotees from Taiwan. This revered text, composed by the great Tibetan Buddhist master Je Tsongkhapa, outlines the core principles of the Buddhist path, renunciation, the awakening mind of bodhicitta, and the corrective view of emptiness. His Holiness the Dalai Lama will guide attendees through these essential teachings which form the foundation for progressing on the path to enlightenment. Following this teaching, on the morning of October 1st, His Holiness the Dalai Lama will participate in special long life prayer offering Tenshuk organized by Taiwanese community. On Tuesday this week, Tibetan Settlement Officer Kunchok Mima organized a private audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama for senior district officials, including Deputy Commissioner Hemraj Bairwa, Additional Deputy Commissioner Saurav Jasal, Additional District Magistrate Dr. Harish Gujju, and Sub-Divisional Magistrate Sanjeev Bodh at his residence. During the meeting, His Holiness shared his experiences, expressing that he considers India, especially Dharamshala, his permanent home. He also noted the growing interest of the scientific community in Buddhist philosophy. At the 57th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, the European Union expressed deep concern over Tibet's worsening human rights situation, citing forced boarding schools, mass DNA collection, and school closures. The EU also condemned the harassment, detention and torture of human rights defenders, journalists and intellectuals, urging China to honor its legal obligation to protect human rights. The EU called for preserving Tibetan identity, ensuring bilingual education and allowing international visits to Tibet. They also demanded the release of Tibetan political prisoners. They called for immediate and unconditional release of Anya Senda, Chadel Rinpoche, Go Sherab Gyatso, Golok Panden, Semki Doma and Tashi Doji, among others. Representative Rinzi Chutin Genka, Office of Tibet, Brussels, thanked the EU for its continued support in addressing Tibet's human rights issues. Sikyong Tsering of the Central Tibetan Administration is set to embark on a series of official engagements and visits across North India and Europe over the next 30 days. On Tuesday this week, Sikyong formally visited the Ponta Chölsum Tibetan settlement to begin his second leg of official visits to Tibetan settlements in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, Sirmaur district. Upon arrival, Sikyong was accorded with a warm welcome reception by Tibetan settlement officer Gelek Jamyang, president of the local Tibetan Assembly, president of the regional Tibetan Freedom Movement, the treasurer of Shalub Monastery, and representatives from the Tibetan non-governmental organizations. Sikyong visited Sakya Tibetan Society settlement in Puruvala on Wednesday this week with inspection of the Tibetan settlement facilities, followed by address to the Tibetan residents on dire situation inside Tibet and on the 16th Kashak's vision and initiatives. From 24th September to 5th October, Sikyong will visit Tibetan settlements in the Sirmaur district of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand and will attend the offering of long life prayers to Kyabkyur Sagya Kongma Tijin Tojchang Rinpoche, the 41st head of the Sagya school of Tibetan Buddhism, on 3rd October. Following this, from 6 to 15 October, Sikyong will engage with prominent members and the members of the Tibet support groups in Switzerland, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and the Czech Republic. During this visit, he will also attend the upcoming Zurich Film Festival and Forum 2020. Upon his return to India, Sikyong will continue his engagements by attending the 600th birth anniversary celebration of the first reincarnation of Goshir Gyaltsab Rinpoche at Palchen Choling in Rawangla, Sikkim. On September 20th, Sikyong Penpa Tsering met with the delegation from the Friedrich Naumann Foundation at the Kashak Hall. The delegation included members of the parliament from Germany and Maldives, along with scholars and journalists. Sikyong Penpa Tsering discussed Tibet's political situation, comparing China's surveillance and oppression in Tibet to Orwell's 1984. He highlighted the forced closure of Tibetan schools, the assimilation of Tibetan children into Chinese culture, restriction on religious practices, and China's interference in recognizing Tibetan reincarnate lamas, including plans to control the future reincarnation of the Dalai Lama. The meeting concluded with a question and answer session. The International Buddhist Study Institute, based in Taiwan, convened a conference of monastic scholars of Tibetan Buddhism based in Taiwan from practitioners from the Theravada tradition and Han Buddhism on September 11. The conference gathered to discuss the promotion of the Buddhism and to launch the Tibetan translations of texts based on the 4 practices of Bodhidharma. Representative Khensa Gedze Bawa, who was one of the main guests, in his keynote speech expressed his appreciation for the Institute's efforts in fostering inter-religious harmony and for unifying the celebration date of Buddha Jayanti in Taiwan. He emphasized the importance of translating Chinese scriptures and its potential impact on enhancing mutual understanding and harmony between local Buddhists and Tibetan Buddhists in Taiwan. Artists from Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts, led by its director, Tsering, participated in the 9th edition of the Ladakh Zanskar Festival held at famous Sani Lake on 13th and 14th September, where Guru Rinpoche was said to have meditated in the 8th century. On the first day of the celebration, the Tipa artists showcased folk dances to a gathering of several thousand people, including the Honorable Lieutenant General Dr. B.D. Mishra, UT Ladakh, and other prominent guests. The Ladakh Zanskar Festival was an excellent occasion for the rural and nomadic communities of Ladakh to showcase their products and artists to display their skills. The India-Tibet Coordination Office, ITCO, and AJK Mass Communication and Research Center successfully held the annual Media Student Program in Dharamshala from 14 to 18 September. The program, in its 2nd edition since 2008, aimed to expose journalism students to the Tibetan exile community and their experiences in India since 1959. After months of preparation, 23 students, along with ITCO staff and AJKMCRC faculty, embarked on field work in Dharamshala, creating 5 documentaries on topics like Tibetan nuns, poetry as resistance, mental health, music, and exile journeys. The documentaries provide deep insights into the Tibetan exile experiences, promoting intercultural understanding and preserving Tibetan narratives. That is all the news for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. Thank you so much for watching.